Hey y'all, I'm Sashah Handal and this is Alt Baking Bootcamp with Well+Good. We're making bite-sized chocolate truffles, but we're gonna make them a little bit more posh by adding Bailey's Deliciously Light, which is just like Bailey's, but with a little less sugar. So today we're gonna melt down your chocolate over a double boiler, which is just a pot of water and then a bowl on top so that the chocolate never makes direct contact with the heat and it has a nice smooth melting point as opposed to just burning right away. So let's start by heating our water, ensuring that you have a heat-safe bowl to place on top of your pot. And your water does not need to come to a full rolling boil. You just want to heat it enough to start to utilize the steam to melt your chocolate chips down. So we're gonna take our dark chocolate chips and our semi-sweet, put them directly in there. And you essentially want to start stirring them right away because you don't want any prolonged contact with one specifically hot point in the bowl because that'll just lead to burning your chocolate. Once you notice your chocolate starting to melt, you can start to add your cream. And this is just a tiny little bit of cream to really help emulsify and kind of thin out your chocolate. This whole process should take around 3 to 4 minutes. And again, you wanna just continue keeping an eye on it. And as the cream starts to emulsify into the chocolate chips, you wanna have a whisk on hand so that you can take out any clumps that might exist. So you'll turn off your flame. You'll also take your pot off of the heat. We'll use the residual steam from the hot water that's still in your pot, and that will continue to melt your chocolate down. Once you've got all of your Irish cream poured in there, you can take a whisk and just work out any of the lumps you've got to make it nice and smooth. It should feel like a thick, almost ganache, but not as creamy as a frosting. And once you've reached this smooth consistency, you can just transfer it right back into a glass bowl, and then we're gonna put it in the fridge to set for about 30 minutes. Let's put it in the fridge. Your chocolate filling should look a little something like this. And I've already scooped out just a couple. If you have a mini cookie scooper, great, but if you don't, you can just use a tablespoon and your hands. The next step is to basically melt down your white chocolate chips the same way that you did your chocolate filling. I've got a sheet tray with some parchment on it, a spatula, and then a fork that's gonna help you dig out your truffle once you're dipping it. I'm gonna take this off the heat before the chips have completely melted because again, the residual heat will continue to break them down. So, this looks perfect. That's only 1 ounce, and then you just wanna make sure that it doesn't create too thin of a layer, otherwise it'll just drip right off of your truffle. And you wanna make sure you start to stir immediately because the differences in temperature are going to make your chocolate chips start to curdle a little bit. And so you just wanna fold it in there really, really easily. If you have a whisk on hand, I would do that to smooth it out as well. And then you basically want it to be able to fall off of your spatula, but not so quickly. And as soon as your cold truffles hit the hot melted white chocolate, they're gonna start to also melt, right? Option 1, I put it right on the edge, and then I take my spatula and just put a nice thick layer over it. Make sure it's fully coated, and then I'll take it out with the fork. Looks like a little snowball. And then you can just put it right onto your sheet tray. I like to just let it painfully slowly come off of the fork because if you use your spatula, then you run the risk of taking off some of the white chocolate. There we go. Let's do it again. And you can see that some of the chocolate is starting to melt off into your outer layer, but it's okay. Once you've got them all set up on your sheet tray, you can put them in the freezer for about half an hour, or you can put them in the fridge if you're not gonna use them until later on in the day, or even perhaps the following day. All right, so these little babies were in the freezer for 30 minutes because I'm impatient, but you just want the outer shell to be fully set and it doesn't melt when you touch it with your finger. If you're serving them, make sure you serve them right away. But if you're going to keep them for later, make sure you keep them in a chilled condition, either your refrigerator or your freezer. So we're going to serve them with an exact serving of Bailey's Deliciously Light Irish Cream, which is 2.5 ounces. So we'll do 2 of those. And then to really maximize what this thing can provide, let's use the 1/2 ounce side. Ooh. Pour some out for the homies on both sides. All right, here goes nothing. Oh my God. It's so luscious and delicious that you're gonna want the Baileys to wash it all down. And as soon as you take a sip of this, you can really taste the hint of it in your truffle. And they're so small, but they're packed with so much flavor that you really only need one to satisfy your sweet cravings. If you want the full recipe to these delicious little chocolate balls, you can find them in the description below. And until then, please subscribe to Well+Good. Cheers.